Alright, so for today's stream, I don't think I'm necessarily trying to only just talk to chat, but at the same time I'm not really sure what I'm trying to do. I am willing to try to think of something that I could be more productive with, because I often feel like the streaming is it's kind of non-productive in some sense. There's something to get fixated on or fascinated by that can let me make some kind of meaningful progress, because largely I would say I do not find any path to making meaningful progress in life in general, and that's a vague statement, but it's also how I feel. This is one of the reasons why I've enjoyed being asleep more than awake in the recent months, I feel. I've thought about other things I can do to pass time, such as hooking up Beetle Adventure Racing again or something, but I'm not quite sure if that's really what I want to do. Again, I really think that game dev is a really romantic idea, and that I would enjoy it if only I could figure out what, if only I could figure out what to do. It's difficult though, I don't really see how. And in general, I think playing random games feels a bit unproductive on my end, and can actually feel rather boring. So I would like to figure out something. It's tough though, it's tough. Feels like writing your opinions and thoughts out is one thing that can be done, but it feels also kind of insignificant or unimpactful. Yeah, and it's like, I don't want to have to do anything too outrageous or controversial, you know. It just feels like it's bad to do, so I don't really know. It's just like perhaps there's some kind of connection that's missing and I can't figure out what it is. So it'd be better if it was more of like a less reliant thing, or I'm not as reliant. The idea of being self-reliant. Like getting buried in my own solo endeavor that I can also stream at the same time. I think that could be okay. So when I think about something like that, then it goes into the idea of doing something with Godot engine again, right? Which does seem to make sense to me. It's just do what exactly? I don't know. Yeah, for some reason I can't. I don't know if it's because I'm older or what, but like I can't just envision I can't just like make up something and then make it. I did also think about messing around with music creation again, but I mean, it's not impossible that I would do something like that. I don't have any software on my computer though, and I don't really know if I want to do something like that. I may simply not want to. I've cleaned the vaporizer and reloaded it, but I haven't taken any yet. It's an option. I will probably do so. But in general, I think I need to be doing something more than what happens on these streams generally. Something more. Yeah, my only experience is with Fruity Loops, and I suppose I'm comfortable enough with Fruity Loops software that I would probably just prefer to use it. But I don't know. I really think there is some good in doing vector math in a game engine. I think that's something I think I intuitively enjoy it. I just can't figure out what to actually do, because it feels like whatever I do is some small piece that doesn't have a greater thing. And like, hence the really romantic idea with game dev, whereas if you could get swept up in your own ideas and continually be creating, it sort of seems like it could be something great. But in my experience, it's been like, get all these ideas and then do some of them, and then once you get far enough along, feel overwhelmed and like you never want to touch it again or something. So that's tough, I don't know. So I don't know. like, I feel like I have to figure out some direction to make progress in. Some direction to make, like, life progress in, whatever that means, right? Feels like creating and interacting and curating, I don't know, something, some combination of that, I don't know. There was that one 4chan post about the state of video games, which was something like, there's a million like love letter games that no one will ever play or care about. And it's like, and like the major companies are all just pushing out these, like, I don't know. It was just kind of pessimistic, and I felt like perhaps that's true. Yeah, I mean, you want to see innovation, and it's hard to be innovative. But yeah, like super high production value, cinematic story sequences and set pieces. That's like a whole lot of work for nothing innovative. So, need to go in a different direction. That's why I was trying to think about, quote, gameplay design instead of game design or game development. But gameplay design, right? Let's just get to the core of it. Forget all the window dressing, let's just get to the core, which is gameplay design. How am I feeling today? I'm feeling kind of pensive today, I would say. Pensive is the word. Okay, so here's something about gameplay design. If you're crafting a world that is like not procedural or like if it's always static, it's non-dynamic world, it's like a world where you can get the same result by doing it over and over again, then the players end up somewhat brain dead as they replay it again and again, because there's not anything like new happening. So it's like if a player knows what to do ahead of time when they walk into a room or they enter a new level or something, then the player is kind of brain dead. This is actually a concept from Jonathan Blow, which I actually did appreciate the comment, even though you can look at something like speedrunning is basically being heavily called out by those comments, because very often in speedrunning there is a heavy thing about rote repetition. And when we were talking about Super Mario Bros. 1 speedrunning the other day, it's just an example of a run that's so mapped out that there's nothing dynamic and there's no creative freedom, right? And that, I mean, that's like the heat death of speedrunning, right? It's like it's fizzled out. There's nothing left. So obviously you would want to design a game in which that is not what is happening. So that's why I think that the concepts behind games that use procedural generation, roguelike stuff, whatever, like all of that is, at the very least, it has something going for it. You can also see why people would play like Binding of Isaac so much. Yeah, like randomizer does go along those lines, yes. But in the case of randomizer, it's very often like people hacking on top of their old favorite games, but I'm more speaking of designing something from the ground up. I mean, you can speedrun a game that's different every time. It's just, depending on how it's designed, it can be ridiculously unfair. Like, one run can just be fucked by luck, right? And the other can be, like, super lucky. And then then you kind of fall down this probabilistic hell hole where, like, I don't know. It's like the same problem as regular speedrunning, except it's even more out of your control. Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah, it was just that one comment he made about the player being brain dead when they walk into a room and already know everything that's gonna happen in the room and what to do. I think that's a quote to think about, at least. I also like, okay, there is something that I noticed recently. So I occasionally watch speedruns of like random games. Like, I'll just go on speedrun.com and find the record run for some random game and I watch it. And now this wasn't a random game, it was Castlevania 64, but I was watching Ty's Reinhardt run world record, right? And in the Tower of Execution, towards the end of the game, Ty says something like, I really should be using the knife like against fireballs, because like the whip hitbox or whatever, like it's not like reliable against fireballs, but the knife like is pretty consistent at like canceling them out. And that single comment there, I mean, it's inside of a game that is like mostly, I mean, you know, the game's not randomly generated or anything, but there is like, the game has a couple elements where things are a little bit different, like the timings of certain things are a little different. And I think the idea that like there's a skill that was learned, or like a realization that was made about a mechanic, that like I can utilize this mechanic in novel situations, and that'll like be better than this other strategy. And I think that little comment right there gave me a little flash of insight or something, because it was sort of like having a realization about a tool or game mechanic that can be applied in a novel situation for your advantage. It's sort of like building a more broader or more generalized set of like improved skill at a game through like knowledge acquisition that is not applicable to fully deterministic situations, but more like as a general rule when you find yourself in a certain situation. So I think when the game's more dynamic and more, I guess, more procedurally generated, then perhaps those are even more applicable and I think then a meta around that kind of thinking emerges, I guess. Because it's like, instead of, oh, when I come across this path, there's always going to be a fireball right here, and 100% of the time I'll use the knife on it as I'm walking forward. Instead of that, it's like, okay, these fireballs are coming out at like odd times, and it's not always the same situation, but I've realized that I could knife them as I'm going through. I don't know, it's just like just a little bit more interesting, the second scenario. Alright, well, don't have other thoughts at the moment. This is the pause menu from the game Perfect Dark. I'm about to get perfect dank. I need to just turn on my vape. I'll do that soon, I think. Yeah, it's been kind of bearish lately, but like, to me, it's like a pretty much guaranteed certainty that a lot of aspects of what's going on, like different parts of the crypto market, or different projects and different protocols and everything, like, it's so obvious that a lot of this stuff is going to get integrated into society that, like, I'm not really worried about the bear market. Hey, hey, hey. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? I decided to take a break from Smash so I can try to figure out if there's something I should be putting time and effort into. Also, because I've picked up a weed habit again, and I feel like I play worse when I'm high, I sort of feel like it's a little counterproductive to play while high, I guess. Yep, that does explain it. But yeah, like when I'm actually actually blazed and stoned, like I feel like there's so many like potential either worries or like self-consciousness that like I often feel like I play really badly. I don't know. I guess I'm just like, I don't know. It's something about my mindset or psychology that's like really, I don't think it goes together that well for me, which is kind of surprising. Like I can sometimes do well while I'm high, but like lately it's not felt like that at all. Like, okay, an example is like I'll be sober and then I'll go on like a 2-hour rampage where no one can touch me. And then I'll be stoned and I'll just start losing to players ranked like lower than me, and I'll just die, like my ranking will dive bomb, you know. So it's like, it's just kind of, that's what I noticed happen. So what I want to pour my time into, I'm trying to figure that out. I feel like I have all these thoughts about like systems, games, and like and also directions the society goes into. But I mean, all the thoughts I have about the direction society moves in, I feel like all I can do is express those thoughts, and I can't make much of a tangible change other than perhaps illuminating someone else's mind a little bit. But I also feel like my audience is so small that it doesn't make a difference. Like such a small difference that it feels almost futile. So I don't know, it's like starts to feel like it might be better to be productive in other ways, but I'm not really sure how. And you know, I have all this, I don't know, I feel like you would think that game design would coincide maybe with some kind of insights that I've had through all the fucking like metagaming shit. But what I've found is that I can get a lot of interesting ideas for like a structure on top of a game, but then the game itself seems to be a complete mystery to me and I don't know what it is. And I can't figure out what it is. And it's really weird. Yeah, well, I mean, it could be the case where like I'll win 10 matches in a row and then I'll lose one. And because everyone I play is like lower rank, the one loss sets me back 10 wins or whatever. But that's fine, that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah, I think making something small, that I guess could be expanded upon. But I don't want to like make something for the sake of like I don't even like games, right? Like I don't know, like I don't play games much. I don't play like a wide variety of games. I play just a few games that I'm focusing more on the metagame of, or what, if that makes sense. Like it's just like a different way of playing games, and so I don't want to make some like little gaming experience. I don't know. I don't know what I want. Oh, I'm glad someone appreciated them. I tend to think they're unentertaining. Right, like I'm assuming you speedrun Spyro 3 and that you play Melee competitively, right? So that would fall under the metagaming thing, which is like It's not like a standard way to play games. It's like a more, I don't know if adult is the word. Perhaps it's a more sophisticated way to play games. Chris, I don't have interest in speedrunning any Zelda game that is currently released. I think it could change if there were new Zelda games that get released that I would have an interest in. That could potentially be a thing, I guess. So I think with this E3, just in a few days, they're probably going to show off Breath of the Wild 2 gameplay. And that'll probably excite some part of my brain in a way that makes me get obsessed. So like, I don't know. We'll see though. I think one of the reasons Breath of the Wild speedrunning was painful was because of like dopamine issues with my brain connected to streaming. Like I really think that's part of the reason it was like that. It may, like enough years may have passed that I'm able to like have a more pleasant Breath of the Wild 2 stream. But at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm just doing work when I'm like working on a speedrun. I don't want to feel like that's just work. That's not fun or interesting if it's just work. Like, it has to be somehow fun, interesting, and it has to somehow capture my imagination. Otherwise, it's gonna eventually become painful. But there were like seriously dopamine issues with my brain when I was streaming Breath of the Wild. I don't currently have any interest in the new Pokemon games. I think Pokemon Shield was enough for me for I feel like I'm good on Pokemon for a while. Yeah, that sounds honestly like a pretty good thing to do. Like, I don't personally browse itch.io, but I'm sure there are probably better gaming experiences there compared to like mainstream games. That's like probably true. Yeah, there was a whole controversy when I was running it because, like, for whatever reason, people took issue with the idea that the second controller's joystick could be, like, perfectly set in position before the run starts. Like, for some reason, everyone had some fucking issue with that, and I did not have an issue with that. And so I did runs where my second controller, or I think it was actually the third controller, my player 3 joystick was at the perfect coordinate location via like rubber bands and neutral reset and like pre-testing and stuff, right? And like there was a huge controversy where everyone was saying my runs weren't legit. And then after all that, they were like, actually we should allow this. And then when they decided it should be allowed, the route was already obsolete and the route had changed into something else. But yeah, like, I don't know. I just literally did not see the problem with like having the player 3 controller joystick already in position before the run starts. Like I didn't see what the problem was with that. I've always done kind of controversial things with Ocarina of Time. Like, it was controversial to buy the IQ, and then it was also controversial to do that controller thing. And then people did make false claims about what I did, but like, no, it was just setting up the joystick in advance, and I didn't even use any like input viewer. I didn't use, like, the game itself has a way of seeing the joystick input on the crash screen if you do something very specific. Like, I didn't even have a Game Shark or an EverDrive or like a input viewer when I did that. Yeah, I mean, I think even when I was running any percent in 2014, I felt like I was like feeling kind of done with Ocarina of Time. I don't know. I think in the years prior to that, there was like so many interesting things happening with lots of discoveries, all kinds of weird things like max percent whatever, like max percent child whatever. Just all these weird different things that were found, and bingo races and everything. It just felt like a really vibrant thing. And I think around the time I was doing any percent on IQ, I felt like I was kind of like, I felt like I was sort of not having fun with the game anymore, or maybe it was like ending or something, I don't know. And then the ace stuff and all this crazy shit, and like, I don't know, can you even really make a comprehensive 100% rule set when all this shit is going on? I don't know if it's really even possible. I don't know, Ocarina of Time actually seems like a really bad speed game to me nowadays. I mean, I think that's actually almost reflected in that, like, Ocarina of Time was one of the most ran games like a long time ago, and now it's like, it's fallen off really hard if you look at the number of players on like speedrun.com. I think that's not a coincidence. I would agree with that statement, yeah. Increasingly unapproachable. Breath of the Wild 2, that's like the one that I'm really curious about now. I actually think trying to beat the Trial of the Sword on Master Mode with like minimum stats and no preemptive potions or whatever, that might be a cool challenge to try. I never even beat it on Master Mode at all, and I think doing it with minimum stats and no pre-boost would actually be like, it would actually really challenge me, I think. So I'm thinking, if I was to do anything in Breath of the Wild, That's probably the thing. There's also the crazy key items or locked inventory tabs thing, where you're only allowed to acquire key items and you can't unlock any of the other inventory tabs. And like, myself and Yume both worked on that and made progress in different directions, and no one ever took that to the extreme. It's sort of like a max percent child situation where you can try to achieve more and more things in this arbitrary rule set that is very restrictive, and it was never fully explored. So that's still something out there in Breath of the Wild that has not yet been explored. So there's still, I guess, a few adventures to be had, but for some reason I haven't played it in a while. My thoughts on speedrun categories nowadays, I think, actually has to do with having the category built into the game itself, and having the timing built into the game itself, and having it so there's no like unintended like broken glitch stuff. Like, I would like to see games that are like really well made, that are really like, they have the speedrun challenge self-contained in the game and there's not any dumb exploits. That's like the lines I'm thinking. That's like along the lines I'm thinking now. I mean, I think there is a certain beauty to some of the glitches and exploits that were found in the past. But like, if I wanted to design a game, like if I was trying to design a game, I would try to have the speedrun timing built into the game itself, no exploits, no glitches, and still maintain player freedom and like creativity. Because like, when you make a speedrun category that like takes an old game and then you like have a category that you make, or that like a random community agrees upon, it's sort of like, it's like you're building this extra infrastructure around the game, and there's often flaws and annoying stuff, like with like what kind of hard drive you're using. It causes load times, or like, I don't know, there's like a million examples of like problem areas that come up. And I think if a game itself was designed intentionally with all those things in mind, then it could be built into the game itself, and there could be no question as to like the legitimacy of the category or whatever. And I think that would enable it to be like a healthy metagame, instead of one that like continuously breaks down and gets more and more esoteric. I actually think casual gaming often doesn't give you any more dopamine once you've done it enough. I think that's why people start to move into stuff like competitive games or speedrunning or the challenges and stuff that like take it to the next level. Because if you start to look at games in a more cold manner, where you have like, alright, you have a 3D environment, you have actors in the 3D environment, you have like interactions, like there's an interact area, or like it's like calculating the distance between the player and this other thing, and like you can just kind of see how it's all functioning, and like the state is just advancing as you go through the game, and like it's actually really boring I think it gets really boring actually. So I think too much gaming will eventually start to like not be as interesting anymore, and you'll start to feel bored. I've never played Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight's another example of a game I haven't played. There's a lot of really popular games that I've never played. I feel like I'm not even really a gamer. I'm sort of like, I've just found a few things that I like and then I'll play those. But lately I've been trying to figure out what to do. I'm 31 years old and I'm turning 32, like pretty soon. I'm not playing anything today. I'm just kind of trying to ponder. Yeah, I mean, I think esports as an industry doesn't excite me at all, but I think taking games really seriously and really figuring out stuff about them or mastering them is interesting. And I could see how Factorio would be perhaps like a final obsession, because it seems like the kind of game that gives you a ton of freedom. It almost reminds me of those games where you could say like, oh, it's Turing complete. I can program a calculator in Minecraft or whatever. It seems Factorio seems like along those lines. Do I have any hobbies or interests other than gaming? Yeah. Although it's like hard to exactly name what they are. Yeah, it's tough. Like, I think about, like, one concept that's kind of fun is like those games where you have individual levels, then you can like master just that little level, and that can be pretty damn rewarding because you get to like choose what you want to work on. And I think that's pretty good, except it sort of falls victim to the whole like the player knows ahead of time everything, so it becomes robotic execution with no thought. Even though there could be a huge evolution of strategy, it's just like it gets to some kind of heat death where it's like no longer going much further other than robotic execution, and then it starts to lose interest. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier in the stream, but it of course applies to like a lot of speedrunning. Like a lot of speedrunning is like that, and that's kind of a downside of speedrunning. Like, maybe the people who are playing Breath of the Wild right were the people who made all these ridiculous videos about how to drown a Lionel, or how to, like, fly up in the sky with a guardian on a raft or something. Like, perhaps those people are actually playing Breath of the Wild right, and the speedrunners are not. What strat am I most proud of that I came up with? I mean, very recently I found a strat for left tower skip in Castlevania, which was pretty cool. But I guess being the first person to find a way to leave Kokiri Forest in Ocarina of Time was a cool thing to find out. Not counting the crooked cartridge Goron City exit, which, I mean, I basically took crooked cart as like a cheating way or a non-legal way to exit the forest, and then I found a way to do it without crooked cartridge. I was at some events that Chibi was at, but I don't know if we talked, like, ever. I don't know. Don't really have thoughts. I was watching I don't know what it's even called, like Summerfest or something, and they showed Elden Ring. I didn't even know what Elden Ring was, I just know there was hype around it. For some reason I thought it was an MMORPG, but I guess it's actually like similar to Dark Souls. I don't know, I haven't followed the hype around it. I just know there exists hype around it. I don't really have much of an opinion about it. I think I'm like definitely not a furry. It never resonated with me. I'm not reviving Blood Sports because I feel like having audio conversations with randoms who like don't resonate with me isn't really not very productive. Except it's not entertaining though. It's entertaining to a certain subset of people who they themselves seem rather degenerate, so it doesn't seem to be worthwhile. I've never played Xenoblade. It's simply that Mithra has the potential to win, like, very clearly through her, like, movement. It just seems very obvious. So I went with Mithra. That's like Kingsfield, right? Not really, Pet, because the sheer amount of hours that I put into Smash, in my mind, justifies paying for the DLC. And not all the DLC is broken, but there's definitely some strong characters. Actually, their balance for Smash Ultimate is better than their balance for every other Smash game, so I can't fault them that much on that aspect. I'm not following any streamers, nor any speed games, although, like I said a while back, I was kind of hooked on watching random runs from like random games. Just out of like, I was just kind of like digging for like meaning in it or something. I played Splatoon 2 for over 400 hours because the ranked game mode, you could like climb up to X rank, and I thought that was like a challenge. I got all X, but it's actually a pretty trivial challenge if you are like decent and are able to stick with it, and I was able to do that. But I'm not like an amazing Splatoon player, certainly not. I simply enjoyed playing it, and I think Splatoon 3 should probably deliver like a really good game, I'm assuming, because I think Splatoon is one of the strongest IPs that Nintendo has like built out, like one of the strongest new series. So I think Splatoon 3 would be like a really good game. I'm expecting it to be. It's probably worth buying it. Would I take up with a sponsor with Soylent now? Perhaps if I had no digestive problems with it. I think I do have kind of digestive problems with Soylent, so I actually have not been drinking it lately. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 when it came out was very clearly, like, there was a noticeable genre change, and the game itself is amazing, but it was definitely a departure. Speaking of game engines, I feel like Godot engine is good enough now that, like, that would be my #1 choice for if I was to make something. MGS4 was kind of a weird game. I do have a video on my channel. I think it's called Left Tower Skip Blue Fire Method or something like that. It's the Blue Fire Method for Left Tower Skip. It's commentated and explains how it works. I came up with that strategy because I couldn't find a consistent way to do it, and then it actually took me pretty long to come up with that strategy, and I think that was a nice moment of like creative thinking to figure that out. I'm actually thinking that this 1 hour of streaming has been very good, and I feel like I kind of want to get stoned now. But I also think that I want to preserve this part of the stream as its own video. Unfortunately, I didn't hit record. But what I could do is end this stream and then and then go on to another stream, perhaps. I don't really have breathing problems, but like I vape it and I don't like smoke it, but I don't know, maybe they're not that different, I don't know. But yeah, I think this stream was kind of productive. I think I actually what I want to do is end this stream and start another one like pretty soon, and I'll have that be its own thing, I think. So I'm actually gonna end this stream right now, but I'll be back in like 5 minutes.